Hi, welcome to all of you for today's session. So today we are going to start with a new chapter that is diversity in India. This is the second subtopic of your syllabus of Indian society, GS paper 1. And it plays a very crucial role. And I would say an undercurrent of it is present in the wholesome preparation. It is connected to your Indian history. It is associated with a lot of topics of essay, and also critical reflection of it is put to test in the interview. So when we speak of diversity of India, which looks quite innocuous in nature, when we are discussing about it, it gets a reflection in GS paper 1 with respect to art and culture as well, when you are talking about cultural diversity of India. When we are discussing about the dimension of cultural diversity of India, we can understand it from material culture as well as non-material culture. So, like, let us consider if I discuss about the segment pertaining to the culture, and when I discuss about culture from two perspectives, the material culture as well as the non-material culture, I can associate it with the material aspect with what segments? So we can connect it with the segment of, like, let us consider the paintings that you can see, the sculptures that you can see. We can see it with respect to the buildings. We can see it with respect to the buildings, means the architectural framework, right? Along with this, we can also connect it with the segments associated with, like, let us perceive something pertaining to the books which are available, the pieces of literature that are available. It can be associated with like coins which are there, right? It can be related to the food, it can be related to the clothing, all of it. Whereas at the same time, the non-material aspects of culture is something which can be associated with dance, it can be associated with drama, it can be associated with songs, right? It can be associated with oral traditions and folklore when we discuss about it, right? All these aspects can be associated with the non-material culture. Interestingly, in continuation with this non-material culture, which we are reflecting here, the religious diversity and linguistic diversity, these two aspects are also a subpart of this non-material culture, which is not discussed in the chapter of art and culture so very detailed. So we'll be taking that up over here with specific attention, because the topic of religious diversity also gets connected to the subtopic of communalism and secularism, which is there in your syllabus. Henceforth, you all can understand that there should be an intellectual continuity between the chapters, so that when you reflect upon one chapter, you get an idea that this chapter is not to be studied in isolation. For civil services preparation, you need to constantly reflect that how one topic gets its echo, its consonance in other subjects as well. So in polity, you have secularism. In Indian society, GS paper 1 itself, later I will be teaching you the chapter of communalism and secularism, which gets connected to this given topic of religious diversity. You can simultaneously reflect upon this topic related to yet another chapter, that is globalization. How globalization impacts religious diversity, how census represents religious diversity, right? So when we are talking about a given chapter, we will be delving in greater detail associated with it, right? So this linguistic diversity and religious diversity are a subpart of cultural diversity, which definitely is a separate paper to be taught in GS paper 1. In GS paper 1, you have cultural diversity, which you would be completing, and a sub-segment associated with it, that is religious and cultural aspects, we'll be elaborating, right? Along with this, when we are discussing about it, you will find that there is economic diversity, political diversity, ethnic diversity, which further would be discussed. Along with this ethnic diversity, I will be highlighting the segments pertaining to racial diversity. Now, basic words like ethnicity and race are not so clear to majority of the students. Majority of the students have a tendency to get confused between the two terms. They feel they are interchangeable. Well, they are thickly correlated, but not interchangeable. And finer details, when not perceived by a civil services aspirant, the child can get confused. So in India, we can see that there is a spike in ethnic violence, or we can see that it can be a spike in racial conflicts as well, once in a while taking place. So, the pertaining areas which can be reflected upon are what are the legal safeguards? What more can be done? What is proposed? And what has been accepted? All those perspectives also needs to be reflected. Along with that, we also need to understand the recent expressions of diversity. Recent expressions like sexual diversity. We are talking about sexual parity in all walks of life. And that is something which we can see by acceptance of the possibility of third gender. We can see the reservation extended to the third gender, the OBC reservation. We can see this possibility by the annual celebration of various types of pride movements taking place in different parts of India, right? We can also see that other than the pride marches and movement, we can see its representation in cinema, art, culture, literature, without any smearing or giving any distasteful expression whereby you are looking down upon such expressions. Rather than that, we can see that people are open to talk, debate, discuss, and learn better. Right? We can also see that the very possibility of this sexual equality gets established in the form of, we can reflect upon decriminalizing Section 377. Right? So when we are talking about this topic of diversity, we can see that this topic of diversity is thickly connected to the concept of justice. In the absence of justice, diversity can get affected, right? So the question arises, what is justice? Justice is fair treatment to all, equal treatment to all. But there is a clause. The clause is, in equal conditions, equal treatment. In unequal conditions, fair treatment. That's justice. Now, the reflective fact is, justice can be furthered in a society only when diversity is protected. If we are not protecting religious, linguistic, ethnic, cultural diversity, if we are not respecting people's political freedom, if we are unable to protect and propagate like a good quality of life for everyone, the concept of justice will be missing. If justice is compromised, diversity cannot propagate. I say, let us consider that we do not discriminate in Indian society. So if I say we do not discriminate, means we are maintaining sexual diversity. We treat all the different types of sexual expressions equally, right? We are treating them at par with each other. Different religious communities are treated equally. And how can we treat equally? How can we protect and propagate diversity? With the help of the concept of justice. That's what it truly means. Again, simultaneously, in the recent expressions, we can also see the possibility of new political parties coming into existence, new political leaders coming into existence without any experience of any political, we can say, background, means not belonging to a political party or not belonging to a political household or a family, no nepotic tendencies as such. Means people who have been maybe teachers, people maybe who have been bureaucrats, former sports persons, former artists, and all these people contesting for elections with the hope that they can emerge as strong contestants in future, with the hope that in future they can prove their might. So when we are discussing about this given possibility, and when we are exploring and reflecting upon what possibilities they hold for future, we can understand that the topic of diversity, when we speak of recent expressions of diversity, we see that the demos, the common people, they respect and propagate political diversity quite effectively. And they are able to do so because of the simple reason that people are politically quite educated. Even the person who's pulling the rickshaw is aware that the vote costs everything. The vote that the person is casting is going to determine the quality of roads and the nature of, the perennial supply of electricity and the services and infrastructure which he or she would be exposed to. So the person is aware who's voting the power of the vote that it can create in the next few years to come. It is different from the common word literacy. Political literacy is a different concept from the term literacy per se. And this awareness, when people have, and when judiciously they choose a candidate who has no political experience or background, means, like, let's say Aam Aadmi Party never existed before 2014. It comes to power. Like, we can say sports persons like Gautam Gambhir did not have a political career earlier. He was just a sports person, a cricketer. We can see Arvind Kejriwal, he was a former bureaucrat. So people who have no political career, no previous political experience, okay, as a contestant, as a person who has been contesting election, a person who's committed to the society and promises the society that, yes, I can deliver. People are ready to experiment. People are open for new choices. Yes, this being open to new choices is also a mark of acceptance of diversity. So these are some recent expressions of diversity which are unfolding before all of us. We can also see this diversity in economic sphere. When we see new startups coming in, we can see Shark Tank constantly posing different types of products and new contestants coming for it and new sponsors coming for it, and different types of sponsorships being bagged, investors investing their money in some promising business ventures. Well, if I consider that, okay, Shark Tank is just an example, in general also, a person can think of traveling all the way from West Bengal to Gurgaon and pursue a job, or a person pursue education, or a person traveling all the way to Gurgaon and trying to start a new product, a new service, travel all the way to Bangalore or Chennai and start a new service. This hope that they have, this faith that they have, that while they start a business, they won't be tortured, they won't be molested, their businesses won't be disrupted on the basis of regional identity. So this fluidity that is created on the basis of a person being able to travel comfortably, a person being able to look out for better opportunities elsewhere without the fear of being molested or misbehaved with. This dimension is possible only because of economic diversity, whereby justice is meted, whereby any individual, irrespective of his or her background, irrespective of his or her, we can say, identity, can venture out and explore the options. This is possible only when economic diversity is protected and propagated in a given society, right? So with this brief overview, when we are talking about it, we are going to start with this given chapter. All right. So thank you.